Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome to my Saturday Hodgepodge, actually my Sunday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap up of all things BookTube. Bookish, what I've been reading, anything else I want to talk about. Sorry about missing yesterday. Friday is my filming day for my Saturday Hodgepodges and I was traveling on Friday, so I waited till today, Saturday, to film Saturday Hodgepodge and it'll be up, on Sunday. Speaking of which, I noticed just for I started filming this video that I made a mistake in my thumbnail and I misspelled the word video, but I spent a lot of time making that cross out of the word Saturday and I don't want to go back and fix it again. So I think I might just live with the mistake. We'll see. Anyway, I want to start off today by doing what a lot of people here on BookTube have done, and that is encourage you to go visit the GoFundMe page for booktuber Pax Panic. Pax has had a healthcare diagnosis, which is a financial and certainly a health crisis for her, and so a lot of people have helped out. And one of the things I wanted to do here with this video is just encourage you to go visit the GoFundMe page, visit Pax's page, and see what they're all about. Great channel, great booktuber. If you can help out, please go do that, and let's keep the already, I think, really great show of support for Pax going. The second thing I want to talk about are my weekly reads. So I read 2 books and I listened to 2 books on audio. So the 2 books I read, the first one was The Translator by Lelia Aboulela. Aboulela is a Sudanese writer, and I think this is the first book that she wrote. And I think there's something, I don't think the story is exactly autobiographical, but there are autobiographical elements here. Aboulela immigrated to Great Britain, lived in Scotland, and her main character here lives in Aberdeen, Scotland, where she works as a translator for a university. She is a widow, widowed tragically, and she has left her son behind to be raised by her aunt, who there's a complicated relationship there, by her aunt while she works in Aberdeen and makes money. In the process, she falls in love with one of the professors that she works translating for, and the story then is kind of a cross-cultural sort of romance. It's not a romance novel, but it has certain elements of that. I think the ending of it is kind of predictable, but the look at the different cultural aspects, the way in which this Muslim woman from Sudan looks at Scotland and the weather and the culture and the difficulty she has fitting in and in dealing with her grief at the same time and in dealing with this complicated relationship with her aunt and her estrangement in distance and really emotionally from her son. It's really affecting, and I think the religious elements are handled incredibly well. I just thought it was really good, and I will be trying to read more of Aboulela's work. So that was the first book I read. The second book I read, which I just finished, was The Perelin Decline by BookTube's own Pae Veo. This is an incredibly philosophical book, and I will tell you going in that I'm sure I didn't understand all of it, and that I did not catch all of the references to various philosophies in general. I don't know what the name Perelin Decline indicates, but I did enjoy reading it as a book exploring philosophical ideas about the meaning of life and purpose and meaninglessness and our relationship to our own history and our own past and history in general. There are all kinds of philosophical ideas contained in it, and I think the danger of writing a work of fiction kind of based on or exploring philosophical ideas is that you can come too close and kind of cross the line between writing a work of fiction and just kind of providing almost like a case example, perhaps, of someone dealing with or someone approaching something from a certain philosophical point of view. I think Pae does a good job of not crossing that line, of keeping it within fiction. And I found the story of Simone to be interesting, curious, entertaining. There were parts of it that really I thought resonated. I think Pae's writing is good. Sorry, plot summary. Simone wakes up in a hospital. She's lost her memory. And essentially she is kind of set on her own to kind of work this out by the hospital officials, and she manages to get to her apartment and she's waiting for her mother to show up. In her apartment is her dog named Nothing. You see what I mean about philosophy in the novel, and her apartment's full of rocks and stones, which may or may not have meaning, and which she tries to understand or tries to come to grips with the meaning of. And I thought it was really interesting and entertaining, and I thought that Pae's writing was really good, and I thought the pacing was really good, and I thought the ideas were really interesting. So if you haven't checked that out, go give that a look, or a read, sorry. The two audiobooks I listened to, the first one I listened to was The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl of Nirvana fame and of Foo Fighters fame, much longer. Essentially written a memoir about his life in music. And the name of the book is The Storyteller, and that's really good because Dave Grohl tells, I think, interesting stories. Does he write, a necessarily coherent narrative themed book? No, he does not. And as with all kinds of memoirs and all kinds of, I guess, rock and roll memoirs, there are lots of flaws, I think, in the writing and the construction and even in the portrayal. But if you're looking for interesting insights and to kind of hear stories about how Dave Grohl met all kinds of other musicians, worked with some or not, this is really good. Grohl meets Elton John and becomes friends with Paul McCartney. It's just really kind of, I thought, an interesting story, an interesting book about his life and his experiences. And then yesterday, since I was traveling the last 2 days to go visit my mother, I listened to Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton as an audiobook on my way up and back. It's pretty much the perfect length for that. And I will say that this is now the fourth Edith Wharton novel that I've read or listened to. This is probably my least favorite. It's fairly, I think, gothic, I think might be the right term for it. And it almost, I think, feels like a horror story, like a psychological nightmare is really kind of what we're dealing with. It's bleak as it can be. and it kind of leaves you, I think, with questions about all the characters. My problems with it is that it kind of didn't seem all that believable to me. I thought that Ethan is portrayed as being trapped in a certain position, and I really don't think that he was. I don't admire him perhaps as much as we're supposed to, or maybe I admire him more than we're supposed to. But anyway, I just found there to be problems with it, and I thought there was just, quite frankly, a fairly gapingly large plot hole in the story. So not my favorite Edith Wharton, but I definitely think, it is short. Definitely worth a read or a listen. The other things I want to talk about today all having to do with BookTube, and a lot of them are related to the video I put out on Thursday, which was 11 classic works that I refuse to read. So I got a lot of great responses on that video, but a lot of questions came up. And one of the questions that came up for me had to do with timestamps and or leaving a list of the books you're going to discuss in the show notes. So in a video where I'm listing 11 books, in this case 11 books I refuse to read, the danger, I think, of listing all the books or creating timestamps, which is a list of all the books in the show notes, is that people can just look at that and then go, okay, well, I'm not going to watch that. And, from a video maker's point of view, I don't make videos so nobody will watch them. I definitely want people to watch them. So, that was problematic. But I think that there's good reasons for us as video creators to leave lists or timestamp lists of the books we're going to talk about in our video. And I think they're good for viewers, particularly for those viewers who support our channel the most. So I'm not going to stop doing them. But there was a phenomenon in this video which occurred, and that is, I think that clearly some people didn't watch the video at all. They just looked at the timestamp list and then they made a judgment about why I said I was going to refuse to read those books. And then some of them left me comments, even though they clearly had not watched the video, accusing me of wokeness. I'm more than happy to own the label of woke when what I'm talking about might actually fall under the heading of woke, because I'm not afraid of that term, and I'm not going to let people turn it into a negative when it is intended or was intended to be positive. But there was nothing woke about the reasons why I said I wasn't going to read those books, and I think people just assumed that they were. Some people insulted my taste in reading, implied that I read trash, because obviously if I wasn't going to read these books, I must be reading trash instead. And, you know, if you watch the video, clearly I indicated that I'd read other books by the authors whose books I include on that list. So I found that to be kind of interesting. One, and then this brought up the other issue, and this is one that's been kind of ping-ponging around BookTube lately, and that I think has to do with the issue of clickbait. So I think Ollie over at Criminale has the best definition of what clickbait isn't. That clickbait isn't just having a thumbnail. And you can think this is convenient for me because I've kind of changed my thumbnails recently to attract more attention to my videos. I think that's a fair thing to say. But you know, what Ollie says is not clickbait if I deliver. If I say, you know, 11 books 11 classic works I refuse to read, and I talk about 11 classic works I refuse to read and the reasons why, well, I'm with Ollie. I don't think that's clickbait. Did I create a thumbnail that was designed to maybe catch people's attention? Yes, I did, because guess what? I want people to watch my videos. Now, maybe I want people to watch my videos so that I get more subscribers. Maybe I want people to watch my videos because I like watching my view count go up. Maybe I want people to watch my videos because that means that my videos earn more ad revenue. Maybe, though, I want to watch my videos because I want to have a discussion with lots of people, the broadest number of people possible. So, you know, not only do I think we have to be kind of careful when assuming that a thumbnail is just clickbait and kind of, I think, applying Ollie's definition is the best, but also then as BookTube creators to, you know, look at ourselves. You know, if you spend time on your thumbnails to make them interesting, to make them different, to make them stand out, then to a certain extent you are attempting to attract people to come and watch your videos. And you know, you may not feel what we're doing is necessarily clickbait, but it can certainly look that way. I personally enjoy kind of looking at other people's thumbnails, and while, you know, I've kind of had a style and then sort of changed it, I do think there's something kind of cool about being able to recognize almost somebody's video just by the thumbnail. Even, by the way, if your thumbnail is just the capture that YouTube does from your video, if that's consistently what your thumbnail is, then you have a style, even if it's just your face and no words. You still have a style, and you know, people who subscribe to your channel count on being able to recognize your video and click on it to a certain extent. So, you know, I kind of think that these kind of discussions about what is and isn't clickbait and why we want to create thumbnails that attract attention, I think those are interesting, and my general impression is, as is everybody I've seen talk about this, is that we should all do what we want to do, and we should make YouTube, our YouTube experience, our channels, what we want them to be. But I did think that was interesting because I was accused of creating clickbait, ironically, I think, by one of the people who didn't actually watch the video. So I wanted to talk about that. So about that refusal to read classic works video, I've already backed off of that. I have agreed to read at least the first volume of Don Quixote with Joe from Joe Renee Reads. And I said, I think in the video, that this was the one that I felt the worst about saying I refused to read. And it is the one that kind of held the most interest. And in all those great comments, which I got. And by the way, thank you for those comments. Even if I said, I'm still not going to read Les Mis, because I'm not. Even if I said, I still don't think, you know, War and Peace is for me. I really appreciated hearing what people had to say. And I was really impressed that people's reasons for why I should read those books were so varied and oftentimes so personal. So I really do appreciate that. I meant to say that earlier. But the book that most people said that I should read, and most of the commenters said that I should definitely try to read, was Don Quixote. So I'm going to do that. Joe, Renee, and I are going to read the first half of Don Quixote. I think in April is what I said. If I can remember, my old brain will work and I can remember. So I've already kind of backed off the I refuse to read this position. Anyway, there you go. I think that's it for this Saturday. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below. Well, Sunday, actually. I look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.